I have three sets of data in front of me. The first one is the major constituents of dry air by volume. So all these in dry air and how much of it in this column B. And in my next sheet I have the census data, the population of the planet since 1871. Here I have performance of the Indian team at the Commonwealth Games since 1930. Now if I want to create graphs for these data points, we can create them, and there are different kinds of graphs that we can create using calc. For example, this data set lends itself more easily to a pie chart because we need to know which one is more and which one is lesser in terms of the constitution of dry air. So we will use a pie chart to represent this. This needs to look at the trend of the growing population. So a pie chart will not make sense here. We need to see the trend, so perhaps a line graph is better suited to this. And here we could use the line graph as well, but this is also lending itself to a bar graph. So we will see in this video how we can create all these three different types of charts. To start, I need to first select the range in which the data exists. In my case, I will select all these cells from A3 all the way till B9. Once I do that, I can click on this, which is insert a chart. I can also alternatively click on the insert menu and click on chart, but I will use the shortcut. So I click on insert chart. This wizard pops up, and since I need a pie chart, I notice here that choose a chart type, I choose pie. And if I scroll it down, nothing's come yet because it needs more information about this. The wizard informs you that there are 4 steps in creating this chart. We are in the first step, it's highlighted in green. We have chosen pie chart, which is also highlighted here. There are other options which can make this pie chart a lot more nuanced, and we will not be looking at those things in this video. It's a very basic video. So once I've done this, I click on next, which will take me to the next step, which is the data range. Click on next. The data range is already selected because I started by selecting this. However, I need to tell my data that the data series is in columns. It already knows that it is in columns. If the data were to be in rows, then I had to choose this option, data series in rows, and not this. So it already knows it's in columns, so I leave it at that. But the first column here, I need to use them as labels. Right now we see 1, 2, 3 all the way till 7 chosen as labels. I don't want that. I want the first column and the contents of it to be in to become the labels. So I choose first column as label. And once I do that, I notice that nitrogen, oxygen, everything came up here, and the numbers were used to construct this graph. So I'm in second step, I'm done. Click next. It asks me a range for the border color and so on. I really don't need to change anything. I like the graph the way it is, so I'm leaving it as it is. Click next. Now it's asking me to provide a title, and I'll just type in constitution of dry air. I don't need any subtitles. The other thing is, do I want this legend to be on the right? Do I want it at all? I remove this. The legend disappears. If I can bring it back on, or if I want it at the bottom, it will come here instead of here. So right now I'll leave it at the right, and then I click on finish. So my chart is ready. So this is the data using which I've created this chart. Now I can click on this, and you see this green markings and on the edges and in the corners. Now that the chart is selected, I can move this chart. I can even copy this and perhaps paste it in a word processor or a PowerPoint presentation. Now within the chart, if I double click within the chart, these things became black. It used to be green, it's black. Now I can get into the chart and I can select different parts of it. For example, if I want to highlight the amount of oxygen, I can click on this. I see that orange is selected. Now I can drag this data out like this, so it becomes a little more highlighted. Or I could click on argon and drag it out like that. So that is also possible. Now the other thing that I want to show, sometimes if I copy and paste this into a Word document, or if I put it in a presentation, I readily will not have data of these numbers on the left. Sometimes you want those numbers to appear. For that, you can right click. Let me double click and make sure it's black. Yes, now it's black. I choose a data set like for nitrogen. I right click on it and I can say insert single data label. Let me show you what happens if I just click on insert data labels. It will become very messy and I can't read it, so I don't like that. I just undid what I did. Instead, I choose insert single data label. So I know 78.084 is oxygen, 78.084 is nitrogen, and I choose oxygen, right click, insert, and yellow. I have the data labels also mentioned here. Now when I copy this picture, I can also resize this. Let me do it in a scaled way like this. So I can resize this and I can copy this and paste it into my word processor or a PowerPoint presentation or so on. Now sometimes you may want to export this as an image. You don't want people to click on it and make changes to any of these things. At those times there is an option to right click and export as an image, so it becomes an image. Once it's an image, you can WhatsApp it, you can send it around, so on and so forth. That's how a pie chart works. Now that we know how a chart works and specifically pie chart works, let's quickly take a look at the other options available in charts. Now this was constituents of dry air, and the pie chart was the best way to represent it. Now let's go to population. Because I want to see the trend in population, a line chart is best suited for this. So again, very simple. Select the data that you want and then click on insert chart. Once you're here, there are 4 steps. The first step is to choose the chart type. I choose line, and in this I choose this second options because I want both the points and the lines. I want smooth lines. I click on next. I'm in the second, and here it is already selected. And right now you see that the blue line here means that it is taking these numbers, years 1871 to 1941, also as data and not as data labels. So I want data labels, so I say first column is data labels. So I click on that, and then you notice that the first column has indeed become data labels for my x-axis. So I'm done with most of my work, except I need to finish this wizard. So I leave this as it is, click on next. The title is population growth. Do I want a legend? Column B, it says. Actually, that's not adding any value to this graph, so let me just remove that so that I can save some space on my graph. I'm done. I can click on finish. So this is showing me the population growth from about 25 crores to about 40 crores. That's how the population has increased since 1871 to 1941. Now, we notice that this chart makes it look like the population is growing very slowly, but that's not the point I want to make, or not what I want to communicate with this chart. I want to see a steeper curve. Now I can do that if my chart starts only here. If this 20 crores was here and if this 40 crores was here, then I could have done that. How can I do that? So that's possible to change the y-axis. For that, I choose under this y-axis and click on format selection. Right now we see that the minimum and the maximum are automatic. I don't want it to be automatic. I want it to be about 20 crores and about 40 crores. So how do I do that? So once I do that, I click OK. Now this steeper looking graph is a better representation of what I wanted to communicate. In fact, I can push it further and make it 22 crores. Now I want to project the population till about 2021. We already have enough data. Can we make a projection based on this? So let's see how to do that. To do that, let me just delete this and start afresh. So let me select the data set all the way till 2021. Choose the chart. We have done this before, so I'm not going to go slow on this. I will call it population projection because we're trying to project the population now. Do I want the legend? Column B. I don't. And I click on finish. Now this looks how it is, but this y-axis changing of data set I need to do. So y-axis. I don't want it to be automatic. Now it starts low and it is allowing me to project, because by 2021, where do you think the population will be? So if I'm teaching statistics in my classroom, I can do this exercise very easily. So I bring my chart here, and because I'm projecting this line, I need to click on the line. So let me click on the line, and you right click on the line and you get an option called insert trend line. So what's the trend looking like? Let me choose that. How do you choose the trend line? Should I choose linear, logarithmic, exponential? That's for you to decide depending on case to case. You need to know what to do, but let me just choose linear for now and click OK. And if I had a linear population growth based on the data from 1871 to 1941, I know that my population by 2021, which is about 4 years from the time I'm making this video, should be between 52 crores and 57 crores. And let me just, I can also delete these lines, and instead of choosing linear, I choose exponential. Say OK. Even the exponential growth is putting it somewhere between 62 and 67. Perhaps this is 63 crores. But we know that our population in 2017, somewhere here, is already crossed 72 crores. We are already somewhere here. So this kind of an activity can help while teaching social science. So we saw two things. One, we saw the pie chart. We have also seen the line graph, including how to change the y-axis and also how to add a trend line. Now let's look at the last one, which is this. Again, very similar, and I'm going to go fast on this. I'll choose the data set here and here. This one is lending itself to bar charts. Now if we notice, these are the years 1930 to 2014 represented in blue graphs. That's meaningless, so we need to make a change to that. So click next. First column are labels. Now it's looking better. So once I'm done, next, next, I don't want the legend, so remove that and click on finish. Now we have a chart. Now perhaps this chart can be used to ask questions like how come in 1986 there are none, and 62 there are none, 54, 50, 38, 30, and some of them could be a good starting questions to start a discussion. Sometimes we have zero medals, we didn't win any, and some other times we didn't take part. Which one is which? And that kind of a discussion could start in the class based on graphs like this. And how come our performance is much better in 2010 and not so much in 2014 in spite of being on home ground? So these are some of the questions that we can perhaps start in our social science classes. So quickly, in this video we saw how to create charts, and there are many other types of charts that you want to explore, but primarily it will be pie chart, line graphs, and bar charts.